All right, today we're going to show a quick video of how to create a sort of small room setup, something like this, while still being able to create some cool looking color and different elements in the room. So we have some uplighting and just some basic stuff in here to make a nice looking meeting setting in a smaller room. I also created just a couple camera views, so basically you can kind of go back and forth and create new camera views for final renderings, and you could even do a fly-through if you wanted to. But in general, the room is fairly simple, just some nice lighting to match the sort of graphics, and just a little bit of stage lighting here too to highlight the presenter. You could always also show what it would look like with some lighting like this. Obviously this tends to be an eyesore in the room. You can add a smaller sort of lighting tree if you wanted to as well to replace this, but this allows you to give a couple options of what it would look like with and without stage lighting there. And then you could also just increase the lighting in the room, which never looks quite as good. Alright, so from here I'm just going to go in and quickly kind of delete everything and start from scratch so I can show you what I did. So if I start here, I just got this room, but I'm actually going to recreate the room real quick here. So if I started from scratch, it'd look something like this. Something like this. So what I would first start to do is just create the dimensions of the room. I'm going to do let's see, I'm going to do like 40 by 60 room, 40 feet wide by 60 feet long, and then like an 11-foot tall room. I believe this is about the size of the room. If you want the ceiling to be shaped in different or more segments, you can switch it. So I do 60 feet by 40 feet, and then you can see that there are more ceiling segments here, and then you can just rotate the room 90 degrees, and this just creates a basic rectangular room, but it's kind of nice because it gives you these different ceiling segments here, which might be similar to the room you have. I'm just going to set down a stage real quick to see if my room's kind of centered, which it looks like it is about there. And I'm going to go in and remove the stage and set the lighting a little bit lower. You can go in and change the materials of the floor. Oops, I'm sorry, I have the wrong thing here. Change the materials of the floor if you wanted to. I'm just going to stick with what we had here. You can change the materials of the walls as well, and also add a floor plan. Alright, so from here I'm going to add in some seating. Actually, I'm going to go to the end here and do seating and just kind of get some seating in place. So what I want to do is kind of set the dimensions of the room here. So I'm just going to, the room width again was 40 feet, so I'm going to set it to 39 feet, and then I'll start with 40 feet deep, so that gives us this kind of width and this depth, and then you can change the spacing between the seats. These seats, if you want them right up next to each other, the separation would be about a foot and a half or so, and then I'm going to set the separation of the rows to 4 feet, so that there's about 4 feet in between, or 4 feet from one chair to the next chair. Alright, and then obviously they're a little bit too spaced out here, so I'm going to select them all and move them forward a bit here. I'll just set it right there for now. We're going to say that there's some doors over here on this side of the room, so I'm going to delete, say, 3 rows of chairs there. If I measure this, just drag my mouse over, it's about 5 feet. So we might need a little more space there, but for now I'll just leave that. And then I'm going to create like a row here in the middle, aisleway. So I'll do something like this. And we'll just leave that there for now. I'm going to hit O on my keyboard and go back to here. All right, I'll actually go to number 3 here. I'm going to skip the stage because it's such a short room that I don't think we need a stage, so I'll do the backdrop instead. Just a line of drape. I could start with screens and just see what that looks like, so maybe you think you don't need any drape, so I'll just, I'm going to do these monitors on stands right here. They could also be projection screens on stand as they have a bezel around them. So we'll go with that. We could select any number of these options here, but I'm going to go with the these on stands here, and then I can adjust the size of them to see what size we want, but I think we'll go with this 10 by 5.5 or so. And then I'm just going to separate them a little bit more. You can also change the layout too, so if you wanted 3 or 4 even, you can adjust like that, but I think we'll just stick with 3 or 2. Separate these a little bit here. And then I'm just going to change to that content I had, so these are just kind of some placeholder images here. I think I had this one on. All right. So again, you could just kind of go with this look. If I were to be doing this, you know, just kind of a basic setup. But I do think that in these small rooms, potentially it can look a bit more put together with a backdrop. So I'm going to go into backdrop here and the type, and we just have a couple of different drape options, and then a white backdrop as well, kind of like a cyc. But I'm just going to stick with the drapery option here, and I'm going to move the venue back a little bit so that we have some space between the drape and the backdrop. And I already set the dimensions, so it's 38 wide by 10.5. You can definitely adjust this if you wanted it shorter, but I think 10.5 is about right for what I had. And then I'm just going to adjust this to different material. I think I used this material last time. I'll use this crushed gray velvet this time to kind of change it up a little bit. All right, so we got that going, and got screens. We don't need to do any rigging or scenery. We're just going to do basic stuff here. So with lighting, I'm going to add some uplights. So again, I already set the dimensions here, but so we got 30 feet wide, and then the height, we want the uplights to sit on the ground, so I set that to 0, and then I have this the amount set at 6, so you can see them here. And you can play with the width here to spread them out a bit, but I think that 30 feet was about good. And then I'm also just going to I'm just going to move them a little bit closer here. And so here's a little bit what I'll do with color. The bright yellow is obviously pretty bright, and I think, you know, our made-up client would probably want more attention to be on these screens here and potentially the presenter. So we just kind of want it to look like it's in the background, and so we'll just stick with this darker blue to kind of match the accents on the screens, and that'll take a little bit of attention away from the backdrop and put it more on the screens there. So I'll just leave that as is. You can always go in and set the exact RGB values if you wanted to of the graphic too. All right, and so from here I'm going to we've already done lighting and the seating, so I'm going to add a person to the front there. So I'm going to go to people. I'm just going to drag in this person here, set them there, and then I'm going to move all this seating up a bit now that I have things placed here. We'll say it'll go about right there. I think we need to create one more space here, so we have now like 5 feet or so, 5.5 feet or so in this aisleway. And then I'm going to do some quick and simple projectors right in this spot. I don't think we'll be able to set them over here, so we'll probably just set them in the front of the room. And to do that, I'm actually going to go to tables so I can set it on a table. And I'm actually just going to take one of these banquet tables here and adjust it. So I believe I can take like this first one here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit O on my keyboard. I'm going to focus in on this guy. And I have some settings here that I can change. So I'll change it to the smallest one, and then I'll just take all of the chairs away by changing this to 0 seats per table. And then I'm going to change this to black so that it's just a black table here. And I'm just going to scale it down a bit, something like this. So now it's kind of a small table with a tablecloth around it, kind of will blend in and not be too obtrusive. All right, from here I'm going to add in a projector, so I'm going to go to the screens option and just drag in a projector there. And this projector is pretty large, probably would be smaller than that, so I'm just going to scale it down a bit, something like that. And then I'm going to drag it back a little bit, move it over. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it by holding Alt and dragging over here. And we'll say that's good enough for that. And then finally, I want to add a couple things back here. So I'm going to add like a little technician table and then some light for the stage, or for the presenter. So for the spot back here with the technician, I'm going to go back to tables. And I'm going to drag in this classroom seating, and it by default it drags out 2 so that you can kind of start with creating classroom seating, but I only need 1 of them, so I'm just going to select this, and then I'm going to change the table size to 6 feet, and we'll do 2 tables per, or sorry, 2 chairs per table. So now we have 2 6-foot tables, and if I go to the top view here, it looks like we'll probably need to lose this last row of seating here. Something like this. And all right, now we're looking like we're pretty close here. So last thing, again, you kind of just tell, like typical, if you increase the lighting of the room, you're going to kind of wash out the screens a bit. You can adjust the light spill of the screens by using this slider here, so that definitely helps. But it always looks a lot nicer if you just dim the lights of the room a bit. And then obviously you'd probably want some lights for your presenter. It's not always going to be the case, but sometimes you can do that. So we'll go into lighting here, and I have this lighting tree option. So this is kind of meant for a larger setup, but you can easily go in and adjust this. So 2 things I want to do is bring the lights down because they're going through the ceiling. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just add a cover to this truss piece so that you don't see the actual truss here. So I'm going to go to selection and just unlock this group here. I'm going to delete the top piece of truss there. And I'm just going to move this down a bit. And so pretty much good to go there. I can adjust the lights by selecting them and adjusting the cone a bit, and then I'm actually going to aim them as well, so I can go into one and just hit this aim button here, put it right on the presenter there, and then aim another one, put that right on the presenter there. Cool. And then I might just dim this just a bit more. I can even change the color to be a little bit more of like a lighter, cooler color, so it blends in a little bit with the backdrop. All right, we'll just leave that there, and then I'm going to add a quick cover to this light, or to this truss here. Let me move this forward a bit, and then I'm going to add in this basic cube here. I'm just going to set the size of it to 1 foot by 1 foot by 10 feet. because that'll cover the truss a good amount. So let me adjust this, move it like that. And if I go back to my orbit view here, you can see what that looks like. I think for some reason my base got moved a bit, but all right. So that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the group again and bring the lighting intensity down a tad. All right. All right, so something like that. And then lastly, I just added some uplights over here, so pretty simple and quick. I'll just drag out a light over here. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees like this. And then from there, I'm just going to kind of duplicate a few of them so that I can have just some extra light in the room to kind of go with the branding of this event design here. So maybe one more. And then I'll just go ahead and group these guys, group them, and then I'm gonna adjust their color a bit to that sort of yellow to kind of be an accent in the room. Just the intensity down a tad. And I might make the room just a little darker too. And there we go. From there, I pretty much got what I want as far as the look goes, and I can make a couple screenshots, or sorry, not screenshots, but renderings of them. And yeah, good to go from there. All right, so hopefully this helps with creating some of your smaller room setups, and maybe adding a little bit more flair, and just some ideas that maybe you hadn't thought about or anything like that, or quicker ways to do certain things. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.